Hello everyone. Welcome to the weekly BBSim Brigade meeting for November 1st. Just a quick reminder that the meeting is recorded, so be mindful of what you share on the call. We have 5 topics for today's discussion. The first one is a quick update on the BBSim reflector. We investigated some issue we were seeing with DHCP. I sent out an email summarizing them yesterday on the mailing list. But we prepared a patch that basically changes the behavior so that the DHCP offer, the DHCP discover packets are sent out in batches, not to overload the DHCP server. And by doing that, we were able to scale BBSim up to 960 ONUs. When we tried to scale it up to 1024, that is our target, there are some issues in the OMCI exchange that still needs to be identified. But I think we are doing good progresses on that front. This change anyhow bring us straight in the second topic of discussion, that is about the DHCP server itself. Whether to keep using a real DHCP server or creating a mock. There are, of course, benefits in going both ways. I tried to summarize those in this thread. But basically, the main advantages of moving away from a real DHCP server is that we won't need anymore a virtual interface bridge to send the packets, and so it will be easier to run BBSim outside of a container or a VM. It will also make BBSim lighter weight and will probably help for scenarios in which DHCP is not required. Zdravko made some comment, and he made a very good point that actually having the virtual interfaces for the upstream packets, it's a feature. It's not something that it's bothering us, because it can be helpful if we want to hook up BBSim in a bigger system. And it will also, in my opinion, be helpful if and when we'll add data plane support in BBSim. Is there anyone that has any comment, opinion on which way we should go for this? I know Mahir had some open a bug that was SIBA 845, because BBSim is not cleaning up after itself, so it creates the virtual interfaces and the bridge, and then when it exits, it just leave them as they are. Okay, so if no one has any objection, the direction I'd like to go for this is to give a try to a different DHCP server to see if we can get better performance out of it. Zdravko pointed out 2 possible implementation in Go, one of which is used in production by Facebook, so should be fairly stable. So I'm going to give a try with that and I retain the virtual interfaces bridge in the container. Alongside with that, again, after Zdravko's suggestion, we were thinking to move the virtual interface creation out of the code into the Docker file. and create a script that help you set up the same interfaces when you're running in a VM, so that the environment setup is separated from the BBSim execution, and that should solve the issues that Mahir reported. Does that sound okay with everyone?
It sounds good to me. It's Mahir, by the way.
Thanks, Mahir. Okay. So this is all for what I wanted to report. Going into the third topic, on Tuesday during the Volta calls, we started talking about testing Volta at scale using BBSim. And I know that Mahir, you did some work with it, but I don't really know what you did with it. So if you can talk a little bit about it, I think that would be very beneficial for everyone on the call.
Okay. I did some tests with Volta and with new BBSim. These tests were generally about the OMS initialization, but not the DHCP or flow creation, etc. I used Volta, Docker compose files to deploy a single machine Volta and execute it BBSim in a separate machine, not in a container. So created some traffic about 200 ONUs initialization and 300 ONU initialization, etc. So what I found was, in fact, I couldn't succeed to bring up all of the ONUs in active mode because there are some issues in Volta core which are discussed on Volta calls also. So Volta has some message ordering issues and some cache and KV store update problems. Some of the get queries and update queries to cache and KV store takes too much time, so the OMSI final state missions are gonna be in timeout, so the ONUs stay in different states, could not be activated. So these are the tests I did. If you have any other questions to explain,
well,
from my side.
I think the bigger question I have is there anything we can do in BBSim to facilitate your effort? I don't know, is there some log that can be helpful for you or something that we can add?
In fact, no. I didn't feel to. I didn't need something from BBSim during my test, but the only things I saw, as you said, some tasks I opened to the Jira. That were all. But the next step for me, if I success to bring up more than 200 or 300 ONUs, then I plan to go for DHCP traffic and also IGMP traffic.
Hey,
so
Mahir.
One issue is IGMP. Yeah.
How are you running the ONU adapter to do this many?
ONU adapter? It's containerized. It's a container in a machine. ONU adapter, OLT adapter, Volta, all are containers in a single machine.
Okay, so are you running the ONU adapter as it is in master in one container?
Yeah. All of the containers are in master, the latest version of the master.
Okay, I'm just wondering, when I run like say 120 with the current ONU adapter, I find it with the new BBSim, it can't even keep up with the rate of indications, and it never gets as far as it struggles to do 100 for me a lot.
I did my last test. I think it was 1 week ago or 10 days ago. So it was the latest of the master, and I did this test a month ago. I frequently does this test, so I'm not sure if the deployment that I used is the same as the master of today.
Sure, I don't imagine this would have changed. Could you do a write-up of how you did this to make it so I can try to reproduce your results, because I can't reproduce what you're talking about. I'd like to have a better idea of how I can reproduce it.
I mean, I deployed the Volta with the Docker compose file under the Volta Go compose directory. I can write it to you by mail, but as a summary, the Volta system test Volta Go, something like that, the compose file names. And I execute this file by Docker compose, and it executes all of the containers in a single machine. Then in another bare metal machine, I download the BBSim executable by clone. I'm cloning the repo and run the BBSim executable on a directory. So that's all I'm doing.
So that's the default compose file, the system test one that we use?
Yes, system test Volta Go, OnuId Go, something like that.
And no changes to it?
No, I didn't change anything in the file as I remember. I can send my file by mail to you.
Yeah, so Mahir,
sure,
if you can share that.
I'd like to try to produce this.
Yeah, I would like to give it a try too. So if you can share that on the Brigade mailing list, that would be great.
Okay. I'll check if it's same with the master. If I did any change, then I'll, as you said, I'll send it by mail to the Brigade.
Thanks.
Okay, just to confirm, Mahir, when you run Volta with Docker Compose, there is no affinity router in it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There is no affinity router. There is no read-only core. There is only read-write core. So etcd is only one, not as a cluster. And RW core is only one. It's also not a pair. So what can I say? That's all I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think it would be good if other people can try to replicate this test and see which result we can get out of it. And ideally, with William, we started discussing very briefly yesterday on the BBSim channel. That would be good to start getting some scalability information and start displaying them in some ways. So I believe the right way to do that is to create a Jenkins jobs that runs periodically and build some kind of a graph letting us know how long it takes to go through the OMCI setup for X ONUs. And that can be one indication. Another indication can be starting with a known set of ONUs, let's say 100, and then keep adding new ONUs and see when we get a failure. Which kind of information do you think we should collect, or which kind of testing should we do for scale?
So I'd like to review Mahir's results, but personally, I'm finding the issue currently is not the speed at which we complete them, but how many we can actually manage to get through. So how many manage to actually reach the download step? So I would say right now we're not working on speed, we're working on just achieving the desired number. Speed matters too, but I think the starting point would be how many can we reach?
I think for a single machine Docker Compose deployment, we can reach up to 150 something. But the aim, in my opinion, the aim should be 1,000. So one full OLT, it's about 1,024, I think. So the aim should be 1,000 at least. And I forget to say that I generally do my tests in a single Docker Compose machine, but I did test one time previous week with the Kubernetes deployment of 3 compute nodes, and the results were same, and that didn't change too much.
Okay, that's good news for me, because deploying on Kubernetes, we are adding some layers and some complexity. So if we can have the same result, I think that's a good news.
Yeah, I had some, because I opened a task in Jira and it's closed by Stefan to reopen it and to make different tests with Kubernetes also. And I have the same results in Kubernetes also. I tried it in Kubernetes too, one time only.
So a question on the test. So I understand that we arrive only to a certain number of ONUs that are in the correct state. Is there any difference in that number if you start BBSim with 500 ONUs or 200 ONUs?
And I mean, a percentage of generally becomes. I didn't care too much about the numbers, but if you try with 100, you generally bring 100 of them, bring up 100 of them to active state. Sometimes it may be 97, 98, something like that, but it's not too much problem in 100. But when you go up to 150 or 200, then you start to see that you only, sometimes you see only 90 of them come to active state. Sometimes 120 of them. I don't know, it differs here.
Okay.
But if you go and try with 200, you generally see that it is between 100 and 150 ONUs that come to active state.
Okay.
In terms of these results, the main thing that's bothering me is that I can't achieve that many when I try. So I'd really like to rationalize.
So what's your results? I mean, what do you get? Do you get all of them activated?
So for example, with the current BBSim and with the new BBSim and the current ONU, everything on master, I start having issues when I go for 64. Most of them make it there. Most of them make it to a NIT map download it. But so So I'm testing with Docker Compose with the system test file. So if I go to 128, I have a lot more problems. I found that I can get to 120 almost nearly if I add a sleep into the OpenLT on indications. But that, to me, I'm seeing problems with the OpenONU not completing OMCI.
I'll try to. Perhaps we can do a live demo in one of the calls. I don't know, but I don't have the setup now. I'm working on something else. If I prepare the setup, I can do a demo next week if you want.
Yeah,
how much time does
together see the results also?
Yeah, how much time does it take you to get to 100 or 200?
5 minutes, 5, 7, I don't know, so between 5 and 10 minutes.
And could we also share what kind of hardware we're running this on and what setup we get from the hardware?
There is a task in Jira. I can send the task number to you. I don't remember it now, but on this task I have the hardware information also.
Okay.
So probably hardware changed it a bit because not too much, but the CPU speeds, etc. May do some change. So the hardware is on the task. I'll send the task number also to the BBSim mailing list.
So yeah, I'm not running on bare metal, so I may be having differences. So
okay. I understand. I had a bare metal spare bare metal machine, and I prefer to run the BBSim on this metal to give enough CPU and memory to the BBSim.
Yeah, please share that. And also, I think this is also a good reason to set up that test, also Mateo mentioned, so we can have a single spot to know what that we can all compare on. All right. So please share that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can set up the test, but do we want? I mean, I guess the question I'm asking is, what do we exactly want to test here? Do we want to create a test that shoot for 1024 ONUs and is gonna fail until we reach that, meaning probably for the next 3-4 months, or we want to start with a smaller number and have a test that passes consistently?
I think a smaller number. The problem you get when you go that high numbers that high is many things start failing, and it's hard to. It's not really very useful because it fails so hard. I would like to see what we can. I think with the system test, we should probably start small and see what we can be successful with, then up it over time.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Let's say that we can start with 64 ONUs, and then scale it up as needed.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Because one thing we can probably do, I don't know if you have ever looked at this test that I'm showing now, that is the BBSim scale test. It's basically building the latest reflector, building the latest BBSim, and then running 3 tests for 64, 128, and 256 ONU. I'm going to add the 512 and more in the next few days. Would be something like this useful? So start for now with one run at 64 ONUs, one run at 128, and we'll see where things break. And then with time, we can add more steps to go to a higher number.
Yeah, I think that sounds appropriate. We'll see how it goes. How do you create these tests? Is it another repo that does the Jenkins test?
So this particular test is inside the BBSim folder. So the test is defined in the CI management the Jenkins structure for it, but the pipeline is defined within BBSim. For the Volta case, given that is a multi-year repo, I'll probably put the pipeline in the CI management repo.
Okay.
But is basically the Jenkins pipeline syntax, so you can define stages and steps and things to do. It's pretty simple syntax. So
yeah, that sounds good. Are you gonna pick that up, or should I pick it up?
As you want, I can pick it up. But if you have bandwidth for it, I'll be happy to leave this to you. I can send you some pointers on how to define jobs in Jenkins.
Okay, I think it would be interesting to do that. I wouldn't mind taking that on.
Okay, cool. Can you create a Jira for it so we can track?
Sure.
Okay. So if there isn't anything else on this, and I think we're up to a good starting point for it, we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, before you move on, I just had a question. When you're running against Volta, do you need a status file to satisfy the same number of ONUs that you're instantiating?
So if we only care about the OMCI exchange, no, you don't need a CDS file.
Okay, you don't need a status file. Because I'm running for just a matter of comparison. I'm running 16 ONUs, but on kind Volta instantiation. So and even with 16, I mean, occasionally I see one ONU that doesn't complete the OMCI exchange, or will stay inactivating. And I was just wondering, why that is.
There's a variety of reasons for that. I'm looking into that kind of stuff right now. I'm so far off from the main point right now that I'm not sure how my results compare to that, but there's a couple possibilities that I'm looking at. Might be res ONU or something. Yeah.
Okay. Like I'm running Master, Volta Master, and the new BBSim.
Yeah, I mean, so that result is not unexpected given what I see.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not an issue with your setup. I think there's some issues with the OnuDepter, I believe. And also I found a couple other things, which I think is I found one thing which I think is the next bullet.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just wanted to point that out. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jules. So I think at this point will be very beneficial if we start a thread on the mailing list for the scaling discussion. So everyone, so we'll wait for Mahir to share his instruction, and then everyone that is seeing issue with scale should post his observation on that thread, so we are all up to date.
Okay. And Matteo, as I said, there are some issues in Volta read-write core about transaction handling and ordering the messages, and also improving the cache and KV store performance. So until these changes are done in RW core, we probably continue to see these wrong states in ONUs for some of ONUs. And after that, if these things are improved, then we probably will come up with the problem of open ONU adapter, because after, I think it depends on the machine, but after 200 ONUs, etc., we start to leave problems with ONU adapters because it cannot handle more than this amount of ONUs, because it's a single threaded module now. So these are the problems now in the Volta side that will affect our tests.
Mahir, I'm testing out an ONU change that load balances different multiple ONU adapters on different partitions of the topic. And on my scale, I'm seeing some improvements with timing and stuff.
Good. Good.
As a result of
William,
that.
William, are you is it you talking? I think.
Yes, that's me.
Yes. Did Serkan send its change to you?
No, I haven't heard anything from him.
Really?
I spoke to him. That's why I'm trying my own approach, because I want to try it.
Okay. I did some tests with his approach also. He had a patch one time, and I also did some tests with his patch, so it improved. And I succeeded to execute 4 or 5 ONU adapters in a single deployment, and they really performed good. So I went up to 400 or 500 ONUs. Some of them, yes, again, as we expected, couldn't be activated.
Yeah.
But not because of Python adapter, ONU adapter, because of the RW core.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. Yeah.
So I'll talk with him again. I'll inform him again to send you.
Yes.
He's so busy about some other things, so I'll talk with him again.
I mean, here this is the
solution.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second solution I've gone down. The other one also had results, but I don't have any issues with it. I think Serkan's one sounds valid too. I think we just need to decide where we're going to go with it. We need to pick a way that we're going to work on as a group.
Yeah, sure.
So we can, if we pick one, we can all contribute to it, and it'll get better. So that's kind of what I want us to happen.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys. William, I think the next topic is yours.
Yeah, so I was looking at this yesterday. So I noticed that in the OpenLT, when it gets a discovery, the OpenLT adapter, when it gets a discovery indication from BBSim, it chooses an ONU ID from its resource manager and caches that ONU device using that ONU ID. But the BBSim has its own ONU ID that's assigned when it creates the ONU object separately from OpenLT. Now OpenLT actually sends the ONU ID when it does activate ONU, but the BBSim doesn't do anything with that. And further, when it does ONU indications, it sends ONU indications with its ONU ID, which is different than OpenLT's ONU ID. So OpenLT will actually pick a different device on indication than it was originally set to based on the discovery indications. Usually it is an issue, but I'm finding some situations where it can be an issue with what I'm testing.
Okay, yeah, then we should just use whatever Volta is reporting as a result of the ONU discovery indication.
Okay.
I'm totally fine with that. If I remember correctly, when I tried that in the first phases of BBSim, I've seen issues with it, but I can just go and double check.
Yeah, I'm trying it. I'm trying out a change right now. haven't quite gone to work yet. So
yeah, so
not sure yet.
If you look in the code, there is this note.
Yeah, I saw that note.
So let's be honest.
Yeah.
This is basically a shortcut that I took when we started, because
yeah.
when I started using the same OnuId that Volta was reporting, but things were not working. And then I went looking in the previous BBSim code, and the previous BBSim was actually using its own ID too. So I just went down this route, leaving this note. But it's probably the moment to start looking seriously at it and untangle it.
Okay, I see. Well, then I'm gonna try out, see what I can do, get something that works better, because I'm working right now. If I get something I think it makes sense, I'll put a patch up and we can discuss that.
Okay, I'll just take a quick note of this.
Okay.
Okay, did I capture it right?
Let me see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
And I added the Jira for the other test.
Yeah, I've seen. Thanks.
I'll put in the doc.
Okay. Is there anything else on this topic?
That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
No, I totally agree with your point. It was there just because we needed to move on with the implementation, but it's time to go back and look at it.
Cool.
Okay, so the last topic I wanted to discuss is this no authentication and no DHCP options. This is a request that we got from Suchitra. There is a ticket somewhere that of course I cannot find anymore. But basically Suchitra asked me to add these two options, not to start automatically authentication and or DHCP when we run BBSim, to have behavior that is closer to the hardware. That raised some question on what should be the default, and we are currently leaning toward having BBSim that by default doesn't start either authentication or DHCP unless you specify these flags to get them to start automatically. What is your feeling about this default behavior? Should it be closer to the hardware, or should it be targeted toward doing the entire path?
I would be in favor to keep it as close as possible to the hardware. So were you just suggesting, if I got that correctly, to have it not automatically start or not automatically trigger these calls, only just if they're asked for by the user? Was that your suggestion?
Yeah. So let me go back to, okay, this is the ticket that Suchitra created. And basically she asked to have the possibility to not start automatically authentication. And then we started debating whether that should be the default behavior or not. And we were thinking that the default behavior is that BBSim automatically just enables the ONU and goes through the OMCI sequence and then just waits there. At that point, the operator can, through the API, can just trigger authentication and then trigger DHCP as needed. Or you can set a flag that will be something like always authenticate that will keep the behavior that we have today.
I think the default should be maybe doing the OMCI things only. Then with flags we can add authenticate and DHCP to it. And if you want the ONUs to be authenticated, then you can add an authenticate flag to the BBSim. If you want DHCP, you can add also DHCP, or they may be combined because they probably have a sequence, the authentication first and DHCP then. So they may be only one flag, but the default for me should be the OMCI only.
Yes, to me it sounds also good, and also having the option to trigger that through the API sounds like a nice feature.
Yeah, so that that is actually already there. If you look in BBSim, in the documentation, there is sorry, wrong file. These operations, there is a list of things you can do through BBSim CTL, and you have an authentication restart and the DHCP restart command that just take the ONU serial number, and you can use that to start authentication and DHCP for every ONU at any time.
Okay, this is from command line, and if you want to do it automatically, I probably prefer to do it automatically, but only the DHCP part, for example.
Yeah, so now I have this patch open that was adding these two. It was adding the NoAuth and NoDchp flags to BBSim to prevent them to happen. I'm just going to flip this so that by default it will do nothing. If you want them to authenticate automatically, you'll set auth equal true. And if you want them to DHCP automatically, you'll just set DHCP equal true, and they are completely independent from each other. So you can just use one of them.
Okay.
Is
That's
that
good, I think.
okay? Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's it for me. So unless everyone has something to say, we are going to have as the default that BBSim will just go through the enabling of the new and then wait for instruction, but you could use these flags to go through the entire process. And one thing we may add here is that we may want a flag to disable the DHCP server at all. so that if we are not planning to do DHCP testing with BBSim, we are not even going to start the DHCP server.
But would that be a BBSim flag, or would that be an option in, let's say, bringing up the container?
I guess that depends by how we want to start the DHCP server. If we want to have it as a flag for BBSim, we need BBSim to keep starting the DHCP server, and I think that's fine. What we want to remove from BBSim is the virtual interface creation, but I think it's fine to leave the DHCP server startup inside BBSim. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's see how it goes with the implementation, and then we can see if there's anything to tweak there, and if there's any.
Yeah. We can leave it as is now, and then
it's a minor thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Then if we see that is not good for people using BBSim, then we can move it away. It's not a problem.
Cool.
Okay. So unless is there any other topic that we need to discuss, I think we can call this a meeting.
So if we finished all, I want to ask some questions. I mean, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
First of all, can you explain what is the BBR?
Okay. Yeah, so BBR basically is a very simple mock of ONUs and Volta. So it shares the code with BBSim. So it's based exactly on the same code base, but it just implements the other side of it. So for example, BBSim starts sending discover indication. BBR receives them and just sends down an ONU enable call so that BBSim moves on in the state machine.
Okay, to test the BBSim.
Yeah, it's just to test BBSim scale. It's not actually testing that it's formally correct, but it's just replying to every message that BBSim is sending with the next one in the sequence.
Okay. Thank you. And what are the plans about the IGMP support?
The plans about the IGMP support, there is a proposal linked here in the document. We have Aryun and Shubham that are actually working for it. I know you guys sent me a first patch to take a look at. I'll do that right after the meeting. But so the first thing we want to have is to implement a simple command that is send an IGMP join and an IGMP leave, so that we can start some basic testing. And then I guess ideally in the future we would like to be able to define scenarios. For example, let's start this IGMP simulation, and when we start we have 15 ONUs join group A, 30 join group B, 15 join group C, then we wait X second, they move around, we wait 3 seconds, they move around a little more, and so on and so forth.
And you said you started the implementation, right?
Yeah. Aryun and Shubham started working on it. As far as I understood, but I haven't looked at the code yet, we are having some issues in generating the correct IGMP packets using the Go packet library. Is that right, guys?
Yes, Matteo. Like we are facing issues while generating the checksum value and while serializing the packet, the IGMP packet. For that, we have submitted the initial patch today, and we have marked the to-dos there.
Also, Matthew, Arjun here. While sending the command to DVC tier for generating that IGMP packet, the thing I noticed that we need the stream for sending packets to Volta, right? So while doing a callback from BBCTL command, how do I access an active instance of stream, gRPC stream?
So I saw your email. I didn't have the time to reply to it this morning. The quick answer is that you don't get access to the stream in the CLI by default. The way to do that is to trigger a state change in BBSim, and then you will have access to the stream. I'll send you an example because that's basically the same thing that the EPOL and the DHCP restart commands are doing.
Okay. Okay, Matthew. Thank you.
Sure. So Mahir, if you are interested in IGMP, I can forward you the patch so you can take a look at that too. But basically, I think at this point we just need to figure out what is the right way to generate IGMP packets using Go packets. In my experience, that has been a pretty hard step to climb anytime I needed to generate a new kind of packet. So it may take a little while to figure it out.
Okay, sure, Matthew. Thank you.
Then generally once, like in my experience with EPOL and DHCP, you take a while to figure out how to generate the first packet. Then once you have the first one, generating the others is
yes,
straightforward.
Yeah, I see.
But if you have if you can go take a look at this document for the IGMP support and let us know if you have any comment, that would be great.
Okay, I'll check it.
Yeah, or if there is any feature that that you guys want to have for it, because I'm not really aware of what is going on for IGMP on the ONU side, so I may have missed something. I just shared this with Saurav. I said that it was a good starting point, but we may have overlooked something.
Okay, thank you for updates. Thank you. I'll check the document, and if I have some comments, I'll type on the document.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other topic, comment, complaint?
Matthew, I have a question. Like, it's not related to IGMP.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take just a minute. Actually, I have submitted around 4 to 5 patches today of all tickets which we have worked on. I have kept. So we just rebased them, and for AAA packets, for AAA patches, we are getting Jenkins error. It's verify FOSSA code and verify AAA event test. These two targets are failing actually in Jenkins.
Okay, so yeah, FOSSA cord, don't bother about it. It's something we're still setting up. And the other problem, I'm not sure what it is, but Jenkins is being funky this day, and I'm having a lot of pleasure fighting with it. So just send me the patches and I can take a look.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Because the build was passing in my local environment, and when I pushed it into Garrett, it's failing. I'll send you the patches.
Yeah. If you could, it may be a Jenkins setup issues. We have been changing a few things in the ONUS application. So just send me the patches. I can take a look.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great weekend, everyone, and let's keep in touch next week.
Stay on Strasse.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Matteo.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.